our numbers have gone up in these recent draft things. So at least the YouTube. I
People
don't know.
people love draft content, so I'm hoping that this gets us out there. Hello and welcome back to the Second and Two podcast. I'm your host TB. I got my co-host, producer extraordinaire, connoisseur of the hats, master of the grills, and crafter of the lenses, Jody. What's up, Joe?
That's good, man. I've thought about this the last couple of times. You said the last one, the crafter and the lens. I wish I did know how to do that, and then I'd never have to pay for glasses, or at least the lenses themselves, and then I could just buy frames and throw them in there. You know what I mean? Then I truly
Yeah.
could wear whatever I wanted on here.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's a good skill to have. I think there's certain skills like that in life, like that if you have them, super valuable, Not only
Like
like save yourself the
woodworking.
money, but the time.
That's the stuff right there. If you know how to build
Yeah.
some stuff, that's a key skill. That or like working on cars are probably the two that I don't possess, and I wish I did.
Yeah. No, I can cars, I can change a flat, change my oil. On a good
Yep.
day, I could change my brakes and rotate my tires. That's probably the
There you
best you're
go.
getting out of me right now. So that's a fair, yeah. I wish I knew more, but that's been
Facts.
Life Skills Corner. We didn't see that one on the schedule today, but it made its way. Before we get into today's draft prep, we did want to give a shout out to the man, Jason
Fellow
Kelce,
podcaster.
announced his retirement. Was it today or yesterday? I can't
I think
remember.
it was yesterday.
I think it was yesterday. We're recording on Tuesday, March 5th here. So he announced his retirement yesterday, had a press conference, and took a lot of things away. I watched a little bit of it. I did see a lot of comments about it. A lot of people talking about it. It was pretty emotional.
I didn't realize it was 41 minutes.
Yeah.
I was watching, so I was sitting there doing cardio at the gym, and they were talking about it on NFL Network. So I was like, oh, let's see what he's saying. Like, well, not let's see. I was reading the words off the screen,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, I wonder what like the whole speech was. So I looked it up that night before I went to bed, and was like, bro, this is 41 minutes. I was like, well, good thing I got in bed early today. So I hit play, and by like the 30th minute, I was just like in and out of sleep, and I was like, oh man, I just gotta go to bed at this point. It was long,
And it was
very
it was
emotional
long, but
too.
like it was good, really emotional. You can tell he like I just a guy who loves football like that when he was explaining like why he loves football. It's all the
Yeah,
same reasons I love football. So I could
yeah,
relate to it so much. It's why like most of my life is built around coaching, talking about, watching football.
yeah.
I could relate to everything he said about it. So um and I saw some stuff today from like his wife talking about the outpouring of emotional, you know, emotions, I guess it just should say,
Yeah,
from fans
the
and
whole
other
family and stuff.
NFL media and stuff like that, and she's just been, like, overwhelmed. She's, like, basically saying she knows how great her husband is, and she's so happy that he's getting this kind of recognition because she knows, how much work
Yeah.
he had to put in and everything,
I
so,
mean, my guy was
yeah,
quite literally a dog for what, 13 years in the league, and I mean, he talked
which
about it
is
in his
hard to
speech,
do at
which is
center.
crazy. Yeah,
Center is
exactly.
that's, like, a brutal position to play, dude, like, in the trenches. 13 years is a long time. So, yeah,
Yeah,
shout out to
definitely.
Jason Kelce. Give him his flowers. I mean, he should end up in the Hall of Fame. I would be surprised if he's not a Hall of Fame center. I think he had
Yeah,
that good of a
true.
career.
I mean, my guy didn't miss a
So
game, or at least I
yeah,
don't know what the true wording is on that, but he played every snap, or not every snap. That's going crazy now, but you get my point. He played a lot of games consecutively. That's what we're going to.
yeah,
And today,
yeah,
the people we're looking at would be people who would have had the opportunity to go against him. No longer a chance, though. It's going to be the defensive line, the interior D lineman, the nose guard, people lining up on the guards as well. Maybe even a dude that had a different scheme that lined him up a little bit more outside shade of the guard. And We're kicking it off with Jerzhan Newton. I'm a struggle on these names, I'll tell you that. I didn't look up any pronunciation today, so we'll see how it goes. Let's see. So Jerzhan Newton was out of Illinois. My guy is 6'1", 295. That's 4 years before I botched that off rip. 4 years at Illinois. We got... Oh, did you cancel that stream? Because I don't see it.
Yeah, we're having some technical difficulties real quick. Okay. There we go. We should be up.
We got 45 games there, 18 sacks during the time frame with 33 tackles for loss, pressure rate of 10%. What's this MT percentage? What does that stand for?
Missed tackles percentage.
Oh, missed tackles. Okay. And let's see, 183 total tackles.
Yeah. So as I was, we were kind of talking before we actually went live today, and just off the cuff here, this DLine group is probably my favorite group we've evaluated to this point. Now, in fairness, we've only evaluated edge rushers, tight ends, and now interior DLine guys. But so far of those three groups, I think this group is the deepest. They've got the playmakers at the top that the edge rushers have, but they're just much deeper here, in my opinion, this year in this interior D-line group. There's a lot of good players. I mean, I think the top 10 guys are all going to be pretty good players in the league, in my opinion. So Jerzhan Newton out of Illinois, the guy's a playmaker, man. Like, you watch him, he's a quick interior D lineman. So first thing that sticks out, his pass rush just is sick from an interior guy. He's a flurry of moves. He's like a double chop, an arm over, chop rip, great hands and feet, and he's in a compact body. That makes him very explosive. So we go to some clips here. Once again, if you're only listening today, highly recommend when we're doing these draft breakdowns that you hit the YouTube up so you can see some of the film we're talking about. Yep.
Get it at the top of the episode this time.
Yeah. Good call by me. Let's pat ourselves on the back today. Good podcasting.
All you, bro.
So we got Newton here. He's in a zero technique over the center, and we're just gonna watch the speed, hand, arm over, sack. I mean, just absolutely beats the guard like a drum. Now, okay, you're saying that's against Chattanooga. Okay, fair. Let's see it again. Okay, now he's against Kansas. Okay. Once again, now he's over the guard in a 3 technique. Boom. Double chop, get to the quarterback, sack. Big time play. 4, man. Good player. All right, so you kind of see some of the array of moves that he has. He was, obviously 18 sacks from an interior guy in 4 seasons it's pretty good, right? Especially in college. You're not getting the amount of games that you're getting in the NFL. So you're talking over 4 sacks a year from an interior guy who's playing 10 to 12 games a year. That's pretty good. Now, the next thing is the speed, actually. For such a big guy, he has real closing speed that you can see on film. Unfortunately, he missed the combine. We finally have some combine numbers now, right? Just this past weekend. But he missed the combine after healing from a partial Jones fracture. So he had surgery there. And so we don't know exactly how fast he is in terms of a 40. Not that it matters much, but I can tell you this. If you watch his film, he's fast. All right, here he is. Definitely. 1 technique against Indiana. Boom, beats the center. There's one of those other arm over moves. And now look at him chase down the quarterback. I mean, legitimately chase down a quarterback from the hash to the sideline. Is really impressive and didn't give up any ground. Look at that. He's like shot out of a cannon. It's really impressive from a guy who started that play as a 1 technique, but finished it looking like he should be, a linebacker or an edge guy. Like that's that kind of speed, man. So that's impressive. And then last but not least, you look at him in the run game. Some guys, you love to have interior pressure, but sometimes those guys are one-trick ponies, and that's all they do for you, right? They're not going to play in the run game unless they just beat the guy right away and make the tackle, right? Newton's a little bit more dynamic because he's really disciplined. He's a master at physically controlling his gap and then exploding through the tackle, which means he's a major asset in the run game. So here you go. You see him in a 3 technique. They're going to try and run to that bubble at him and extend and then make that extra play where now the back tries to bounce to him and he can just explode through the tackle. It's a really good play that you want to see from an interior D lineman. He can control a gap. Now, same thing. You run away from him, you try and read off of him. Fine, he can go run it down from the backside. How many 3 techniques do we see running down zone where he's left unblocked from the backside? Now you try and run at him again with Kansas. Once again, controls his gap, makes the tackle. Michigan tries to run away from him. Oh, he's going to go tackle Blake Corum in 2nd and 1. We know that guy's a really good player, right? So I think his explosiveness, but combined with the discipline and ability to control a gap, makes him a really valuable player. I love his game. I think he's going to be a really good player at the next level. Joe, what'd you see?
Yeah, I had similar things written down. Basically, he had vicious hands. You talked about his chop. I saw a little swim in there too. You didn't mention, but he also had the rip. You highlighted all those off rip. Let's see. He had the speed. He was good at rallying to the ball. Same thing. Chasing down people, making those tackles. Said he was powerful a little bit. I think there was a couple plays where he had a little bull rush in him. Looked like he was strong, throwing people's off to make the tackle in the A gap. And another dumb note that I've had these past couple that we've done is the all orange on the Illinois is clean. He's looking there like cuties. You know what I mean?
I love that you're like watching a guy film. You're like, dang, the all orange looks good. Illinois needs to do that more often.
Yeah, bro. They pop in every now and again. Like, dang. I don't watch enough college football. That's just a fan of though.
And I'm not a fan of jersey wise. I kind of don't like the just orange number on blue jersey, but no outline or anything. Like no white accented in there. It's just orange on blue. It's really hard to see. But I do agree with you. The all orange is clean. So looking at, where Jerzhan Newton projects next level, a lot of people have him somewhere between picks 16 and 32. So the back half of the first round at where he's at in a lot of the mocks right now. I mean, he has all the physical tools to be just a nasty interior defensive lineman in the NFL. He'll be a guy that teams must account for when they're game planning because he really does have the explosiveness to just wreck a game, in my opinion, right? He's right up there with the guys, like talent-wise. I think he's in that group of guys that we all know like can wreck a game from a 3 technique spot. Like I said, he projects as a 3 technique and an even front, and he'll play really well next to, I think, like a plugging nose, like a guy who takes a true double team to make sure he's singled up a bunch. So the guy he most reminded me of was Grady Jarrett, who's playing for the Falcons now, right? Here's some highlights of Jarrett as a 3 technique against Detroit this past year. First of all, you get him against the pass. Boom, little bowl, but then he gets the arm over, old school swim. Forces an incompletion against Jared Goff. But once again, you can see it great from the behind. Bop, create extension, get over the top, disrupt the throw, forces an incompletion on Goff. Then you see him in the run game. Here he is as a 1 technique, split inside. He takes a double team, eats it, pushes a guy off, and then goes and makes the play, tackle for loss. Those are the kinds of things you see from Newton on film. And I think they're very similar kind of players that explosion from an interior rushing 3 technique, very valuable in today's NFL. So I think he comps well to Grady Jarrett.
All right, the next guy we'll be taking a look at comes out of Texas. Going to be Byron Murphy. My guy is 6'1", 308. Played for 3 years. He's got 39 games at sitting at 8 sacks with 19 tackles for loss. Got a pressure rate of 11%. Missed tackle percentage of 10% with a total of 69 tackles. And then before we get into your stuff, did you want me to highlight his combine numbers now or wait for later?
Go ahead, hit us with it, Joe.
All right, so we got I think there's only 3 people that we have going today that had combine numbers. But he sat with 4.8740 with a 1.69 10-yard split. Did 28 reps on the bench with the 33-inch vert.
Okay, so I mean, that was going to be part of my first thing with Byron Murphy. He has like sick lateral quickness for a 300-pounder. You know, I mean, the guy's 308 pounds, and he displays lateral quickness on film that I would say puts him in a lot of positions to make plays, run or pass. The 10-second split at the combine being 169, that tracks. For a 300-pound man, that is insane. I hope people understand like how quick getting to 10 yards in 1.69 in less than 2 seconds, you know, for a guy who's 300 pounds, that's just wild, man. So here you go. Here's some film of that lateral quickness. Here he is as a zero technique, right? Texas is in the stack on this in a little sub package against Baylor this past year. So he played the zero in some of those sub packages. And I mean, did you see that? He disappeared and then reappeared. He's like he was teleporting.
A double team and just smoked him back door.
Now here he is as a 3 technique in that same game against Baylor. And he just, I mean, they clearly slanted him on this play, and he's actually he's a 2-eye technique, but he crosses the guard's face and manages to get opposite, you know, versus zone going away from him, right? And he's able to beat that guard across his face. Boom. Okay, here you go against Kansas State. You know, he has essentially the bull rush and the ability to make the quarterback just absolutely lose it, but he beats him across his face initially. Once again, some of that lateral quickness showing up, forcing an incompletion. And then again, I mean, just beating the guy across his face. So, you know, we can kind of sit here and do that one all day, like I said, but just the lateral quickness with him, again, seeing it here against Baylor where he just like, boom, boom, knocks back off of the double team and he just reappears. Man, that's like Houdini. So, you know, I really like a lot of what I saw in film with him, specifically that lateral quickness. You can go all day about that. For a guy that big, it's really rare. And then the lower body strength, his power in his lower half is really evident on film. The guy never goes backwards. Like, I don't think I saw one snap where he ended up a step back. Like, he's always gaining ground. Mostly because he plays with great leverage, but those legs are strong, right? He's a big dude, and those legs, you know, he uses them right. So here you go. Short yardage play against K-State this year in the red zone, right? We got a 3rd and 1. They're up by 3 in a game they got to win against K-State. Just watch him. You know, they pull away from him, so he follows the pullers. Then the guy who's trying to block back on him, he just absolutely destroys that center, trying to block back with the pullers going away from him. Helps make the play on Will Howard in short yardage. Once again, short yardage, this time against Baylor on the 5-yard line. Then that 3 technique. Now that, you know, you get pass, he's going to bull rush, but he's just going to keep pushing the pocket. Once again, here you go against TCU. He's just going to keep beating. I mean, golly, I can't really say much there. He's just a monster. He's just a monster. Again, here you go against Rice. Short yardage. They try and run at him. You're not going to run at this guy in short yardage. You weren't going to run at Texas in general with short yardage because we'll talk about Tavondre Sweat in a second. But like here again, Byron Murphy making the play. I mean, those 2 guys inside, you're not running the ball against them, not in short yardage. That was a huge play,
Yeah,
by the way, on
definitely.
3rd and 1. So that lower body strength is evident. And then last but not least, for such a big guy, he really does play with incredible motor.
Oh, I had that too.
I think it's a problem for interior offensive linemen blocking him because the guy never stops working to get to the ball. So
Definitely.
that means you're going to have to block him for 6+ seconds on a play if you want to actually stop him from getting to the ball. Otherwise, he's getting there. So a couple plays of that here against Iowa State. Once again, here he is in the one technique, the one shade inside. Initially, like, he gets stopped, right? He gets put on his butt. And really, he bull rushes the guy, and the offensive lineman pulls the chair out on him. So he ends up kind of flat on his face. Watch what he does. Gets up and still makes the sack on 3rd and 12. It's impressive. Like, that kind of motor from an interior guy. We talk about that all the time with edge guys. How many times do you say that about an interior guy who weighs 300 pounds? Okay, now
wild.
here he is against Alabama. Once again, taking the double team, right? He's just gonna keep going, and he makes a tackle for loss. I love this guy's motor for an interior guy weighing close to 310 pounds. You don't see it. I can't emphasize it enough. You don't see that. You don't see that from guys that big. They just don't play that way. So I loved a lot of what I saw in film from him, if you couldn't tell. But Joe, go ahead. What do you like?
Let's see. I said he was athletic. My guy got a receiving and a rushing touchdown playing fullback. So I thought that was very impressive. Kind of reminds me of myself. And he got the shout out for being number 90. Number 90 was actually my favorite number to wear whenever I was playing defensive line. It kind of goes back to like Julius Peppers, a couple other dudes that rocked it back in the day. And the fact that he was wearing it, little bonus points for him for that. And I guess I had a note saying he might play high. I don't know, but he's 6'1", so that kind of probably why it looks like he's playing high because everyone's taller than him anyway. So, yeah, I thought he was solid and great dude. Looked nice.
My looking at where he's projected right now, seen him as high as 12 in mocks. Feels a little high for an interior D lineman. Usually those guys don't go that high, but he is that good, so he could. We obviously saw it with Jalen Carter last year. So we could see a guy going that high again. Murphy is pretty special. He should be somewhere between picks 12 and 32. Should be a first rounder. I think he projects as a 3 technique in an even front, similar to what we said about Jerzhan Newton. But he could also play a true nose and an odd front. You saw that at Texas quite a bit. He has that initial and lateral quickness to be extremely disruptive with that lower body strength to play tough in the run game. I think his motor makes him a 3-down guy. Like, you got to have this guy on the field as much as possible. Obviously, on the D-line, you're always rotating, but I think he can play all 3 downs. He reminds me of a guy who was a rookie last year, played on the team that I watched quite a bit, and was in the running for defensive player or rookie of the year, and that's Kobe Turner. The motor, more or less, and the quickness from that interior spot is really, what I saw there. Here's Kobe Turner playing a 1 technique against the Giants last year. A little bit of that relentless, like, just keep fighting, that motor.
Yeah,
Boom, gets the sack on the come around all the way around the ring. Then you see it again here versus the run. Again, that lower body strength to hold the gap, make the tackle. Here's another one again. Great hands, quickness, forces the overthrow on 3rd down. So I think Byron Murphy actually comps really well to Kobe Turner. I could see him having a similar rookie year in the right scheme with the right team where, you put him next to a guy like an Aaron Donald. Yeah, he's going to get singled up a lot. It means he'll win a lot. So I could see him having that kind of year as a rookie.
Yeah, for sure. I want to say real quick, if y'all are watching, you saw me freak out during the lower body strength, and my headphones cut out on me, so I had to scramble real quick to see what you were saying. So I don't really know what you said on that one, so I'm be honest. If I just sound like I didn't say much about him, it's because I don't really know what you said, and I don't want to double back on something.
Fair.
Moving ahead, next guy we're taking a look at is going to be Darius Robinson from Missouri. He's tall guy, 6'5", 296. Oh man, we got COVID year in there too. I'm gonna say that's 5 years, maybe 6. Could be wrong. Let's see, we got 48 games with 13 sacks in that time, 28 tackles for loss with the 9% on his pressure rating. Ooh, a little low on his missed tackles. That's good. We'd like to see that, 7%, and 105 total tackles from him. And I
So
don't have no combine numbers from him.
yes, yeah. The first thing I'll say about Darius Robinson, some people there's definitely, and this happens when you're evaluating players. Some people will group him with the edge guys. And that this happens with like guys who play tackle or guard, corner or safety, right?
Yeah,
Edge
I
or
agree.
interior D line. And especially when they're a guy who can be like that 4 technique sort of tweener type guy. To me, Robinson, the fact that he has 13 sacks in 5 seasons, that alone is concerning if you want him to be an edge rusher, because he's
Yeah,
just
I
not
get you.
really, that's not what he's done. But he does do a lot of things well. And so I grouped him with this D-line class because I think that's where he's going to fit in the NFL. So first and foremost, the thing that stands out is his length. He's 6'5". He measured over an 84-inch wingspan at the combine,
That's
and
wild.
his reach allowed him to get his hands on the ball a lot. Okay. So there you go against LSU this year, right? They're down 3, minute left in the fourth quarter, second down. You need a big play. What does this guy do? Gets his hands on the ball against Jaden Daniels, forces a huge loss on second down. But again, he comes off that 5 technique right there, able to get his hands on the ball with that length on Jaden Daniels when they try and read off of him. Obviously, it's not going to work for Jaden Daniels. Here you go in a 3-4, and he's playing this 4 technique. And really right now it looks like he's in more of a 4-eye or a 3 on the guard, but that's where I think he's going to be really good. And once again, you can kind of see how he uses that length. He swallows the quarterback here after he just beats the guard like a drum on the little swim move over the top. Ba-bow. Huge breakdown in protection by Memphis. And then against Georgia, once again, he's in that 5 technique, just outside shade of the tackle, beats him on the edge. That's the clip right there. If you're one of those folks who thinks he's an edge rusher, that's the one that you show. Because he beat the right tackle for Georgia pretty well and looked good doing it. But once again, I think his length was the big thing there. The second thing is his physicality stands out. I mean, he plays a brand of physical football that teams will love in the run game. I think this is what allows him to be an effective 4 technique in the NFL. That's what I see him as, a 3-4 technique. And he plays through blockers and ball carriers. So here you go. And this is him in that 3-4 technique. And you'll see here against Arkansas, just goes through the double team and then goes through the ball carrier on the tackle. Get up and flex, young man. Yes, sir. Back to LSU. Here we go. In the pass game, his brand of pass rush was just like, I'm going to go through the tackle. The back's going to step on protection. Then I'm going to go through that guy too. Right? So you can just see he's so physical at the point of attack. I love that part of his game. And I think, once again, it's part of what will make him a tough interior guy, right on that 4-eye, maybe a 5 technique in a 3-4. And then last but not least, and this kind of goes with being physical, he does a really good job of punching through blockers, pressing them backwards to create the extension that he can then use to control them to find the ball, right? And here you go. You see it here. Extension, shed,
Pull.
make the play. I mean, that's some stuff that, once again, that's what you want to see your 4 technique do. Here it is against Kentucky, same thing. Now it turns into pass on a short yardage, short down and distance, and then he converts to a pass rush after creating that extension and in a heavy rundown. So I think there's a lot of good things that you see on tape with him in terms of his physicality and his length, and he uses all of that stuff very well, puts it all together with that punch and press. I think he's a perfect 4 technique.
Yeah, so I double back on the combine numbers because I clearly lied saying I didn't have no combine numbers. He was with the edge group in there, so that's what happened. His numbers are he had a 1.73 on his 10-yard split with a 4.95 on the 40. He had 35-inch vert, 21 reps on the bench. And then similar to you talked about his length, especially with that 7-foot wingspan. It's crazy. I said he had a big frame. And I said he had good hands in all his moves, which is kind of showed that with the push pull. I clearly uses a swim. I mean, you got like 3 feet on one arm, like you can go over the top of anyone with that.
So right now, projections have him as like a 2nd round guy, day 2 pick. A lot of early 2nd to mid 2nd round projections. I know, like I said, he's an interesting prospect because some people will have him as that true edge defender. But once again, to me, from what I've seen on film, what he's shown, I think he's a true 3-4 defensive end / defensive tackle who's going to play that 4-eye, that 4. Sometimes he can play a 5 technique. As that kind of tweener guy, his physical play to me makes more sense near the bubble between that guard and tackle. And he can also use his length in some of those pass rush situations. So the guy who he most reminds me of, kind of looking at that, is Zach Seiler, who's a guy who's that perfect 4 technique, 4-eye in a 3-4. Here he is. He's playing a 4-eye for the Dolphins against the Bills this last year. And you can see, they try and attack him. It's zone 2. Now he's got the guard. He's going to punch and press that guard, very similar to what Robinson does, and then go make the play, explode through the tackle.
Yeah. Meet him in the
Now
gap.
here he is against the Bengals, once again, in that 4 technique. Now he's getting zone away, but he's still good enough to get himself back into that gap when the back cuts back to him, makes the play. Physical, long, very similar traits to what you see in Darius Robinson. The physicality and the length make up for maybe not being quite as athletic as a true edge guy. And that's, to me, what you see with both those guys. That's why they're so similar. That's why they're great 4 techniques in a 3-4.
Yeah, that was the first thing I sent you. I was like, yo, is this guy really between the guards guy? I was like, he looks like an edge rusher if you ask me. I honestly shut him off the first time. And you're like, nah, he's a... You told me basically what you've already explained.
He's not a between the guards guy, but he's not an edge guy either. He's that tweener. Yeah. I'm telling you, he's that 4-eye to 4 to 5 technique.
Yeah, so I was like, all right, I'll go double back on his film. And so that's how we ended up here. That's why my notes, they're not too lengthy on him because I didn't see him as it. But keeping the train rolling, we're going back to Texas. We got T'Vondre Sweat. He's 6'4", 362. Man, another COVID year here. We got five years, 62 games. We got 5 sacks, 21 tackles for loss, 6% on the pressure rate. We have 7% missed tackle percentage, and 125 total tackles. Let's see, where's the numbers? I know he had them. We got a 5.26 on the 40 with a 1.8 flat on the 10-yard split, and a 26-inch vert.
T'Vondre Sweat is a freak.
Plug the gap.
6'4", 360 plus, and his 40 time was like, what was it? 5, just over 5, 5.26. That, come on, man. That's
Yeah.
insane.
No, definitely.
That's so insane. I'll get to the athleticism part. I'm going to kind of save that as my last one here. First and foremost, the guy has really quick hands that allow him to win in one-on-one situations. Now, I can tell, and I really appreciate that he works on this. He works on his hands like a freaking boxer, and he moves. He has moves and counters loaded up every time he goes out on a play. And I like I said, I just love it. I can appreciate it. Here he is against K-State in that 2 technique. Yep, head up on the guard. Bow. Oof. Oh my gosh, and then just beat the center.
He sent that dude to the tackle.
Ooh, did you see the swim? Did you see the quick swim? Whoa. Look what he just did again at Kansas. Ha! Double hand down. We had to that one was so nice. We had to replay it. All right, so we'll go through these again. Watch what he does to this guard. Just a quick
out the way.
Chop, hand over into the center. Boom, get there all the way to the quarterback. Now he's in that 4 technique, head up on the tackle, which once again shows you some of his versatility. He's going to attack the guard and just cross over his face into that A gap.
Mm-hmm.
Boom, same thing here. Double hand down, slap both wrists. He puts the guy on the ground because his hands are so quick. Just impressive for a guy at 365, to be that quick with his hands. And then next thing, obviously, is the size and strength. I mentioned, he's a freak, 6'4", 362. That's a massive human being. I can't even comprehend how big that is. Okay. You can't zone to him because he'll just eat a double team without giving any ground. Then he'll beat the man who stays on him because eventually your double team, if you're doing it right in zone, is going to come off to the backer. It's going to become a one guy. Okay, well, you don't move him at all. And then when your double leaves to go get to the backer, he's just going to go make the play. He's just going to make the play because now you can't block him with one guy. His strength is incredible. Makes him such a problem for offenses. Linebackers have to love playing behind this dude. Here you go, right here in the 1 technique. They're going to try and double him. And this is Oklahoma, okay? I'm not showing you Southwest Arkansas State. This is Oklahoma. Center guard double. Yeah. Doesn't matter. They can't even get up to the backer because he doesn't let them. He's making the tackle before they can even get to the backer because he just eats the double team. I can't emphasize how crazy that is. That's a wild play. Okay. Now here we go against Baylor. Same thing. They're going to try and double, come to the backer. But as soon as you come off, what happens? He didn't give ground. So now he's just going to beat the single blocker, come back underneath and make the tackle. You can't zone to him. Every team who tried to got eaten alive. BYU.
That dude's face right here too.
Boom. You can't double this guy. You can't run at him. He will eat your lunch every time. And he did in college. Every time. Okay. Now, last but not least, the athleticism. Like I said, he's a freak. Okay. He's in a 3 technique at 365 pounds right here. And then just watch him work. Look at him beat that tackle across his face. Zoning to it.
That dude was still hanging on as he was making the tackle.
Oh my gosh. Now he's in a 0 against Wyoming. Beat that guy. Beat the next guy. All right. Get in the gap. Make the tackle. Here he's against K-State. Beat it over the top. Tackle.
And then came back.
Here he is again against K-State in the 0 technique. Beat it back over the top. I'm going to control my man first, but then be athletic enough to then fight back over and make the play when the guy runs away from me. Here he is against BYU. They're going to try and, run a little speed option going at him. He beats the blocker underneath the block and then makes the tackle. Okay, so it's unreal, man. You don't expect a guy who weighs 360 pounds to, run a 5.2 740, jump 26 inches on the vertical, and have an 8.2 broad jump. All those numbers would be good for you or me.
Definitely.
For me, sitting at like around 200 pounds, like, come on now, like that's unreal. So he's just he's a freak athlete. He's one of the freakiest athletes in the whole draft class. It's got to be. And yeah, I obviously really like him. I fell in love with him watching this film.
Yeah, I was gonna say the 5.27 is so impressive. Like I think the fastest I ever ran a 40 in high school was that fast. I don't got the legs to get me anywhere too fast, but I'm pretty sure he's faster than me than I ever was in my last 40 that I ran, which is crazy to think about. But yeah, I had similar notes, especially on the I had filling gap / hard to double team. You definitely highlighted that one. He had good reads, like I said. You could see him. You see the people cross his face. He's just getting underneath them and following to where the ball going. Where are we at? Strength. You highlight plenty of those where he's just shoving people out the way, making a tackle, or even just like bull rushing and getting to the quarterback. And yeah, that's what I got for him. I will say the numbers, obviously he has plenty of tackles, but the other numbers are unfortunate just because he's getting double teamed all the time. You know what I mean? Like it's impossible for this dude to, or it would be like thinking about it, it would be impossible for him to ever make the tackle in general, just because he's gonna have two people on him at all times. But you can see him being so athletic, he just makes the play anyways. Those people don't bother him.
Yeah. Right now, you look at it, a lot of people, I can't believe this, but he's mocked in the second round, kind of that early second round range, picks 33 to 45. To me, he's one of the true traditional nose tackles in this draft.
Yeah,
There aren't a lot
I
of them.
feel
A
that.
lot of the guys we're going to talk about are, hey, he's an even front 3 technique guy, or he's an odd front, 4 technique guy. We talked a lot about that. T'Vondre Sweat is like an odd front true 0, or could be an even front 1 technique that's going to just eat up double teams. You don't
Mm-hmm.
see a lot of those guys as much, and in this draft class there aren't as many. It's more of those other kinds of defensive tackles. He's a true nose tackle. He's going to destroy one-on-one blocking in the run game. He's going to eat up double teams. Linebackers are going to love playing behind him because he won't let guards and centers combo up to them. Basically, his backers should always be kept clean because of who he
Yeah.
is. So to me, the only guy I could comp him to is Vince Wilfork. All right. Vince Wilfork now is only 325. It's not even quite as big as T'Vondre Sweat.
That's
But
wild.
here's some film of him, old school right here, right? Against the Texans and I believe Arian Foster.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
running zone, like even away from him, teams ran away from him because they couldn't run to him. He still makes
Came
that
after
play.
him.
And then he's athletic enough that you throw the ball out to the back in the flat and Vince Wilfork's out there making tackles. Okay. Like this guy was such a freak for being 330 plus or 320 plus pounds. And to me, that's where I just see T'Vondre Sweat, where you can build your defense, the strength of your defense with this guy anchoring it. And that's what
Mhm.
Vince Wilfork was for a number of years with
Yeah,
New England.
definitely.
I think whoever drafts T'Vondre Sweat is getting a guy like that. I think he's that good. So I think
Yeah.
teams would be smart to maybe use a first round pick on him and not wait till round 2.
I was gonna say you definitely you I already felt bad for the guy because I knew the numbers don't jump off the sheet like some of these other dudes, which is why I ranked him lower as you'll see later. But clearly the numbers speak in other terms. He's affecting the game other places. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's just a fact. Let's see. The last guy we're taking a look at today is gonna be Braden Fiske out of Florida State. He's 6'4", 297. Oh man. Is that Western Michigan?
Yeah.
Those years?
He played at
All
Western
right.
Michigan for the first 5 years and then had a 1-year grad transfer to Florida State.
Okay, perfect. Because I did not know how those numbers added up at all to me. He's got 57 games in his college career with 19 sacks, 45 tackles for loss. He's got a pressure rate of 10%, missed tackles percentage at 9%, and 189 total tackles, My dude had a 4.78 in the 40 with the 1.68 on his 10-yard split. We got 4.37 seconds on the shuttle, 33.5-inch vertical, and 26 reps on the bench.
So, Braden Fiske is what we call the combine warrior, man. He's the kind of guy that, like, going into the combine, not a lot of people were talking about him. Coming out of the combine, everyone was talking about him, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in full transparency, I kind of had these guys. I had done a lot of the work, had them mostly ranked pre-combine. And so
Yeah,
he was
I
one of
feel
my
it.
top 5 guys. Before the combine, I think you could see some stuff on film that it made it so that those combine numbers were not shocking, in my opinion.
Okay.
Now, anytime an interior D-line guy runs sub 4.8, that's a thing that you're going, whoa, wait a minute. Okay, that's impressive. And so him doing that, I think, was a big deal. Obviously, he also had a 1.69 10-second split, similar to Byron Murphy. So clearly explosive. But in totality, one of the things, you look at him, the biggest thing that I saw first and foremost was he plays with really good balance, which is a really important trait to have as a defensive lineman because in an interior pass rush, you get kind of knocked around. You never know where the block might come from. You might get the double, right? You got to stay on balance, and he uses really good balance to set up interior moves, counter moves when he's pass rushing. So here you go against Clemson. Here he is as a one technique. This is in the run game. He gets doubled, but he's able to kind of hold the ground and then push away and then still be on balance to make a tackle. That's an example of some of that balance I'm talking about. Here he is against Pitt, a one technique again. Kind of come back over initially, get inside, then come
Using
back
the
out.
swim.
And again, the only way he can do that for a big guy like that is just being on balance, and putting guards off balance or centers. Again, another play where he's able to stay on balance, redirect, and make the tackle on the quarterback. Really nice play in a big game for them. Okay. Next, the get off, like some of his
Yeah, I
best
had
plays
that
on
too.
tape are literally he's just so quick off the ball. Like I said, the 1.69 10-second split, the 4.37 shuttle time. For reference, like Aaron Donald had a 4.39 shuttle time. Okay, so this guy's in that drill
moving.
quicker than Aaron Donald. So we know Aaron Donald, who he is and how quick he is. Okay. So here's one where they try and pull away from him in the ACC championship game. Poor Louisville didn't stand a chance on this play. Watch this.
Just shot out of a cannon.
Oh man, guy was shot out of a cannon. That's a huge play. I mean, just so fun to watch that. The back never had a chance. They
That
tried to
dude
run
turned
gap
around and was
scheme
like,
away
wait,
from
that's
him.
him?
They tried to run gap scheme away from him, and his get off was so good that if you watch the center, look at the center who's supposed to be blocking back on him.
Yeah.
He's like on the
Misses
ground
it
because
and
he's
turns
like,
around like,
wait, the guy
oh,
was
man.
supposed to be there and he's gone because that's
Yeah.
how quick he is. I mean, that's insane. Watch the center. Like he never gets
Turns
hands
around
on
like,
him.
bro.
The guy, and again, it's not like the guy's in a 3 technique. He's in a 1.
Yeah,
He
that's
might be in
tough.
a 2 high if he's a little wider. He might be a 2 high, but like the center never even touches him. Come on. He's right there. Guy
Yeah,
doesn't
he's
even
just in
touch
the
him because
gap.
he's so quick. Okay. And then last but not least, he's not only quick, but he's also fast. Okay. So he has closing speed. Here he's against Syracuse, once again in that one technique. And he just runs down the quarterback from the opposite hash.
Yeah.
Again, kind of like I said with Jerzhan Newton, pretty rare to see a big man run that fast. And both of those guys have that. You can see it on film. It's a very similar play from both guys, actually. Here's another one. Quarterback spins out and he chases him down, going to the sideline against
Oh,
Louisville in
I'm
the
glad you
ACC
got that play
championship.
on there.
Yeah, he gave a little Aaron Donald ring me at the end, huh?
Yeah,
Um,
I had that written down from my note for him. Is that looking back
so
on it, that ring celebration is hilarious because they didn't
well,
even get a chance.
they did win the ACC championship, so he did technically get a ring for
Was
that,
that
I'm
in that
sure.
game?
It was, so he might be
Oh,
referencing
okay,
that.
okay. I hope that's
So
what he was referencing.
yeah, yeah. But in general, he's not only quick, but he's also fast. He has that great balance that allows him to play, different counter moves throughout a game. But what'd you see, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much all the same things. I said he was very fundamentally sound. We saw plenty of swim moves on there and rallying in the ball. He was flowing making those sacks outside the pocket for sure. I said he had really great reads. I had 3 exclamation marks on that, so I really thought he was good at reading the lineman. And of course, you talked about the speed and his get off. I said he was really quick off the ball.
Yeah. All right. So right now he's projected. This is like kind of pre-combine. He was projected like rounds 2 through 3, maybe late second round, early third round guy.
Hmm.
I don't know if there's going to be a team that overreacts to that 4.78 speed
To
and
take
makes
him
him
earlier.
a early second round, late first round guy. That could happen.
Yeah,
Um, he feels like another guy who, to me, is more of a 3 technique. I mean, you saw him play a lot of that 1 technique at Florida State. I
true.
think he seems to be another 3 technique in a class that's just full of 3 techniques. His elite speed and quickness allow him to destroy guards. I think we saw that, and ultimately his role as a player, what it's going to be is I think he still needs to get stronger. That's the thing that I think separates him from maybe some of these other 3 techniques in this class. But that'll be the thing that helps him be a 3-down player to me. But certainly think that can happen. And my comp for him was BJ Hill with Cincinnati. Again, another 3 technique type guy. You can see him right here against Tennessee last year. Just very quick off the ball. Whew,
Hmm.
sack. That super quick 3 technique who can just beat you with get off with speed. I see that very similar there. And so that was my comp for him, but that's our top 5 there. That's certainly my top 5, I should say. Where do you have these guys ranked, Joe?
Oh, so kicking us off, I got Jerzhan Newton. What was he? Illinois? Yeah, Illinois. Basically, I think the hand play, the all his I don't know, the rush bag, I guess if you want to call it that, the chop, swim, rip. I liked all those things. I wrote down, I guess he was versatile. Might have lined up outside a little bit, maybe at that 5 spot is realistically what it was. And he was just a strong dude altogether. I like that he was flowing to the ball, doing all the things that you would like to see, great effort type stuff. I went Byron. Oh, I messed that up. Byron Murphy next out of Texas. I think that was more based off the numbers, considering he was getting more of the shinier things in terms of attacking the other team with sacks and stuff. Meanwhile, Tavondre Sweat's plugging up everything, making sure he's got an open lane to get to that. So I got them 2 and 3. I got Braden Fiske sitting at 4. I think he was just a really like fundamentally sound dude. Like does everything that you'd want to see well. Not necessarily anything too impressive though. You know what I mean? And then we didn't talk about him today, but Michael Hall is gonna be my 5th dude. He had a really good swim move. Let's see, he lines up outside. I got the eye emoji. I don't know why I drew an eye emoji, but he I guess that shows versatility. He is really good at pursuing of the ball, and then he was just too strong from what I seen. I guess he was probably doing a lot of bull rushes and smoking cats.
I do like Michael Hall. He did make my honorable mentions, and I'll give you those. Makai Wingo from LSU, Ruka Rororo. Oh, gosh, I know I butchered his name, from
I
Clemson.
was
He's a
scared to
he's
ever
a
say
good
that one.
yeah, he's a good player though. I do like him. Michael Hall from Ohio State, and then Mason Smith also from LSU. All four of these guys in a normal year are probably in this top 5. But again, it's such a deep class. Like I said, there's 9, 10 guys that I think could go in the first 3 rounds that will give you really good stuff. So if you need an interior D lineman, this year is a great year to need one. But going from my top 5, number 1, I mean, I comped Tavondre Sweat to a Hall of Famer and Vince Wilfork, so he had to be my first
Yeah,
guy.
I get you.
Number 2, Jerzhan Newton, I think is so disruptive inside. I love the way that he plays, his quickness. Number 3, Byron Murphy. I raved about him as well. Gosh, it's honestly a miracle anyone ran on Texas with that front. I think they have 2 of the 3 best guys in this draft class and in the D line. Number 4, I love Darius Robinson's length and his physicality. I think he's going to be a really good 4 technique. And then number 5, Braden Fiske. I mentioned, what I like about his game, some things that I could see improving as he gets into the NFL. But I think he's got a chance to be pretty good as another 3 technique in this group. And like I said, overall, I think this is the deepest group we've evaluated so far this year. We've got a lot of
True.
groups to go, but through 3 groups so far, I think this one is the deepest and was the hardest to make that cutoff at 5 because, like I said, some of these other guys are also really good players. Some of those honorable mentions.
Yeah, I mean, I maybe we do it going forward on like the DBs or something. But I would love to sit there and watch what you see during your like breakdown of their film because I look for the simple things that I know. You know what I mean? But you
Mhm.
look at the entirety. Like, granted, we're looking at just D lineman, interior D lineman right now, but when you get to like corners or back, like outside backers, even like I would love to see what you're looking at. You know what I mean? Just to see
Yeah.
what sticks out to you, considering I played most of offense my whole life too. Even you know what I mean? So it's like those little differences that we're looking at is gonna be fun to at least see once. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, and I think the hardest part about evaluating guys is understanding what they're being asked to do
That's true
schematically.
too.
And so that's always, I think, the part where I go whole picture first
Uh-huh.
before figuring out how successful this guy is being, right? Because
Mhm.
and I know I'm not 100% right. I could tell you because I'm not in the room at
True,
these
true.
places and coaching what they're coaching schematically. But like most of the time, I think 90% of the time, if I can see the safeties in the shot and we can see the whole picture on the play, I
Yeah.
can pretty much guess what they're in, what's he's being asked to do, whether it's a
Mhm.
D lineman, edge guy, linebacker, DB, right? Once
Yeah.
you know that, that's when you can get into like, okay, I know what he's being asked to do right now. And so even though there's plays on film sometimes for guys that show up as like, oh, look at that play, and everyone will
Yeah.
love it. Sometimes guys aren't doing their job when they do that. Like
He was
sometimes they
just
kind
right
of got
place, right
lucky.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Or they just made an extra play that's really not their play, but they're that good that they go, so it could be good
Yeah.
or bad, right? But I think that's the part is if you know what they're in schematically, then you kind of know what techniques they should be using. If you know
Mhm.
that, okay, now you can really evaluate them other than just being like, wow, he looks good. I mean,
Yeah. The
I
general
think that's
answer.
the part. What you're saying is true is that you try when you're evaluating these guys to look whole
Mhm.
picture to then small part, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, I think maybe we can in the future get the true like watch the film of a guy, watch
Yeah,
it with
yeah.
me live as I
Yeah.
evaluate it. Sure, that could be fun. But we're in through March, early March. On the docket next week, I think we're gonna go 2-for-1 special next week, 2 episodes. We're looking at O-line and receivers coming up, and we may have a special guest for receivers, it sounds like.
True. Yeah, I'll have to contact him, see when it works for all of us. Get that lined up. Our guy Mitch, known Texas fan. He's the one that sent me that. Well, he sent me both of those actually. That and the UCLA.
Known
UCLA
Texas
one's
fan
me,
and
but
supporter of the pod.
yeah, definitely.
So we'll get him on, talk a little receivers with him. Texas has 2 of them that might be able to make that, might be hovering around that top 5. So I'm sure we'll have some good conversations there.
He called him wide receiver U this past year. So I'm sure he's
Okay,
got
all
plenty to
right.
say.
Alabama and Ohio State, LSU,
Well, he said for this
maybe.
past year, not overall.
Okay.
I know
All right.
those dudes definitely put out receivers, but he said this last year.
LSU is still kind of hovering in that. They got 2 good guys too. But I'm sure we're going to talk about all that and more coming up. So stick with us. We're going to keep pumping out these draft preview pods, positional previews. And if you want to see anything from us going forward, you want to hear more about some of these guys, you have questions, comments, concerns, make sure you're following us on our social medias. It's always Second and 2 podcast. Twitter/X, TikTok. I don't know if we rectified the Instagram situation. We won't be doing anything with Facebook, but you can follow us at all those spots. You know, we've been putting out comps on our Twitter page. Obviously, make sure you like, subscribe to the show, follow the show, all that good stuff on YouTube and Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you're getting your podcast from. And if you have comments, you want to see some more stuff from us, please let us know. We can't put it out unless we know what you want.
Yeah, no doubt. And our guy Ray, he's got a new album that just released last Friday. I truly liked it a lot. I think I listened to it like 3 times in a row while I was at the gym. Got some good songs. You know, it starts off
Quick
like
listen.
the first half. Yeah, definitely. It's like 30 minutes, I'd say, or something somewhere around there. The first half, I'd say, it's probably more like bangers. You know what I mean? More like hype up music. Second half, he's spitting lyrics like making you listen to what he's saying. You know what I mean? So yeah, definitely check that out, and we'll drop one of them at the end of this episode because we finally got some clean music from our guy. So, as always, taking us out, our main guy Ray.